time for our daily coffee break, everybody. Nice to see you. Peter's there at the top left. Solbu's kitchen. Oh, there's Solbu hiding out in the back. And then we've got Lanceman 63 at the middle left. BP9's chair in the middle. And MarshMan. Hi, guys.
Howdy.
Everybody hanging in?
Best as possible.
That's all we can hope for right now, Bill.
Yep.
That's it. I'm trying to get back into I've been working through this whole thing, but because of the move, I haven't been writing news every week and doing video production every week. So I'll tell you what, having to hook up our audio system again was like, how do I wire this again? It's been so long, right?
Had to get out the instructions, huh?
Yeah, pretty much. Should have wrote it down or taken a picture or something. And today I'm writing news stories for the first time in as many weeks, right? So
about a month, yeah.
Yeah, which is tough because I don't want the news to be all about COVID-19, that's for sure. But that's practically everything that's out there.
Yeah.
So I'm having to weed through news stories and try to find, a positive spin on each story and stay away from some of the darker stuff that's out there right now. And
well, you can talk about what Microsoft have done with GitHub, and you can talk about
that's
SETI
a good
at
point,
home.
BP9. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Note to self.
There you go. Hey, whatever
I got
works,
a story
man.
to write.
Whatever
Okay,
works.
yeah.
Well, two actually,
Yeah.
because you've got the SETI at home story as well.
With regards to using the SETI program and supercomputer power to find a cure for COVID.
Yeah. Well, no. What I was going to say was that the
search for No, I'm thinking of the other one. Sorry, SETI, search for extraterrestrial intelligence. Right. Thank you.
It has wound down.
I'm still thinking about Fold. Yeah.
Well, folding at home, a lot of people are using
Different
that
thing.
now, and I really need to switch mine over to that as well, but I haven't yet.
So that's a good spin, BP9. Actually, I like that. Because,
and in Norway, people
done.
are having an uproar on the governmental app for tracking the infection because it is not open source, and the company who is on behalf of the government have publicly stated that they are not open sourcing it because that will give bad guys an easy access to finding bugs, so they are closing the source to hide the bugs. And at least 4 GitHub repos have appeared that have decompiled the code.
Exactly. Security through obscurity is not security at all.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can say, let's close the source so that nobody can ever figure out how it works. Well, give it to a good hacker who can actually find exploits, and they'll figure it out.
Well, you're not going to see much progress on the Pine Time from me, primarily because... Well,
BP9, what are we going to talk about then?
It's not a big deal. I mean, it's just... it's only that, I really can't move much further forward without the actual device itself to experiment
I hear
on.
you. I have received no notifications yet. I don't know when it's coming. Bo was mentioning that it's meant to be coming out soon, but we'll see. I'm not in a rush, but I'm eager, I'll say. Yeah.
Well, the same is true for the Pine Time and the Pine Book Pine Book Pro as well. So not the Pine Time, the Pine Phone.
The Pine Phone, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Everything that I have on order right now is just studio fixtures and stuff to do that. I found those clips for the ceiling lights. All the lights have arrived. It's all pretty mundane stuff, but important for the show. So
yeah, but didn't you say that Amazon was taking longer to deliver, or is that actually? They're estimating.
I've had some weird things. Oh, right. Yes. Yeah, if you go on Amazon or presumably any other online store, but certainly Amazon, I'm a Prime member, so I get 2-day shipping on pretty much everything on in the normal world. Not anymore. Now you go there and it says, if I order something today, it says it's going to arrive May 14th. But then if you order that thing, even though it said May 14th, all of a sudden 3 days later it ships. And you have it within a few days. So I think they're doing that because they know that they can't depend on the current shipping situation. So it keeps them safe so that they don't have to keep doing a bunch of refunds.
My high-speed
They said
drills came today. Sorry, my high-speed drills come to me. I can drill holes in my power supply because I did every high-speed drills. They all got busted. So I bought up a packet of high-speed drills to do the job. And now I got the template, the drills. I had to start bashing chassis, and it came today. It came quite quickly.
Yeah.
Within 5 days.
It's funny, some things. I said, Peter, it was hilarious because I ordered the water cooler for the studio, and it said it was going to be here like May 11th. It was here the next day. Meanwhile, I order a box of cereal for the kids, and it took like 6 weeks to get here.
I think Amazon is being smart, and they're overestimating the amount of delivery time.
Yeah.
If it arrives early, people are going to be happy. If it's late, they're going to be upset.
Sure.
It reminds me of an idiom that I try to hold to in business, and that is to under-promise and overperform.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it.
Absolutely.
And it works every time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do that with quoting
and
too.
It might also be that
when I quote, I also give a little bit. This is the one flaw of Zoom. There's an ever so slight delay. So those who are watching on demand just think that we're constantly talking over one another. But because there's that ever so slight delay, it takes a moment, and then we both stop, and then we both think, okay, well, I'll continue, and then nope, we both started, and that's the flaw. Oh boy, go ahead, Solbu.
Yeah, it might also be that in some parts of the states or in the world that the delivery is to almost a month, so they are being safe with everyone and not just those few places.
Yeah, and for some things, for sure, like for certain product, I can understand it taking a while. Funny enough, not to talk all about Amazon, but just like kind of the situation with ordering online anyways. It's not just Amazon that's having trouble. That power distribution unit for the server rack, so this is, again, nothing to do with anything other. It's like a power bar. It has 20 outlets. So it goes in the 19-inch server rack, and that's what I plug everything into. So it didn't arrive. 2 weeks later, it still showed that it was sitting in a warehouse in Mississauga in Canada Post. And so Amazon said it's been lost. And I'm like, okay, well, what do we do? So they shipped another one. And then today, the one that was lost arrived.
The one you thought had been stolen?
Yes.
Oh.
And the reason that I jumped to that conclusion, obviously, it's like 2 weeks past due, and I paid for priority shipping on it. So I actually paid extra for the shipping. But I had a giant box BP9 of all kinds of assorted things that I had ordered off of Amazon, and that box did get stolen out of the mail. And so they resent everything, but I only received it once. So somebody actually stole a big box from Amazon out of the post. Not on my doorstep or anything, like actually out of the Canada Post system.
I would recommend not sending a SIM card through the mail, because whenever I go back to Australia, when I go back to Australia, I typically get a local SIM card, and my phone, I just plug it into my phone, replace it with my I take my old SIM out, put the Australian SIM in, I get a local Australian number for the duration of my trip, which works out.
And you're not paying for roaming either.
No, exactly. International roaming, especially. Yeah. So I often I can get away with, especially if all I'm using is data and texting, I often get away with not even reducing the balance on the SIM at all. But the problem is, I want to keep the SIM active until I fly out of the country. Well, typically, because I'm from Melbourne, I'll fly Melbourne to Sydney and then Sydney to the United States. And then what I typically do is just put the SIM in in an envelope, send it back to my sister, and so she can use whatever credit is left on the SIM. Okay. Well, last time I did that, the package got to her okay, but it had been torn open the SIM had been taken out, and then everything sealed back up again. They didn't even hide the fact that they tore it open.
Come on now. And then they
tore it
continued to
open.
deliver it.
Then they delivered it without the SIM all the way back into the back to my sister. Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah. That was fun.
Once my wife and I, we sent we got a money order, which we sent by post to my father-in-law. And not only did it not arrive, and it was for Father's Day. So here we are thinking that he's received his card and his gift, and it never got there. So like 2 weeks later, we realized that he never got his card, and we're like, oh my goodness, he thinks that we ignored him on Father's Day. But then we contacted the bank, and someone actually cashed the money order.
But the money order's like a check. It's made out.
So somebody had to
cash it?
fraud. They would have had to defraud the bank. Either they had generated ID that had his name, or maybe they endorsed it with a fake signature on the back or something like that. I don't know.
Money orders are easy to steal.
Well, they're easy to steal, but like checks, you're not supposed to be able to cash them.
They're
right?
not like checks. Not like checks at all.
Well, money orders
Easily
guaranteed
get away
funds,
with
I
it.
suppose. Yeah,
You can easily get away with it.
but the rules still apply. When I was a teller back in Australia, I had to ask for ID and proof that they had an account at the branch that I was working at before I would cash the check. They had to have an account with us, or otherwise I couldn't. They were the rules.
That's assuming the thief went to a bank.
Yeah, maybe like a money mart or something like that.
That's true. Oh, I didn't think of that.
This reminds me
And
of
then
a story.
the money mart would be out.
This reminds me of a story that this was on the paper in one of the papers here 1 or 2 years ago. An old post office was being they redid reconstructed a part of the building. And it was many years ago that it worked as a post office, and they were moving an old shelf that was, and behind the shelf they found a letter that was posted sometime before the Second World War.
No way! Wow.
Yeah, and I think that the intended recipient were still alive.
Wow. That'd be something else.
Just to tell you, everybody, the Linux project, the game that I supposed to try to write on Linux, I got on quite far, but I came across one or two little problems, like I can't get the sound to beep on Linux for some reason in Lazarus. I've got the display up. It puts the numbers on display, and when you click them out, it does all what you do. But I can't get it to beep. And at the moment, I'm working on the internal mathematics at the moment again. I try and improve it a wee bit more, make it more difficult for people.
So, what are you planning to do with it, Peter? What's the aim of the project?
To learn how to learn Linux, Lazarus on Linux, because it's totally different. Because you haven't got the API, and because I ain't got the API, I can't do certain things, and I have to find out how to do certain things. I have to go around and investigate. But on Google, if you do a search, 99% of the stuff, I'm telling my other friend today, who lives in Ballina, which is not very far from us, 99% of it is Windows-based. So you haven't got many many examples to look at. So you have to sort of use whatever you got,
What I would do is I would put it on, provided it is, I would open source the code, and I will put it on GitHub or GitLab or somewhere where and then you can have other people, you can point them to there, and they can look at the code, and maybe they can see straight away.
Yeah, if you're lucky, someone will give you a PR.
Yeah.
Right, but anyway, I might even let one of you look at it and see what you think when it works. Anyway, well, it's almost finished, I think, but I'll get all the problems sorted out. I went through quite a lot like yesterday. I did about 5 hours, and I did quite a lot in 5 hours. So I went mad. So, I'm going to get back by. I probably open it to somebody if somebody wants to beta test it for me. I don't mind them beta testing it.
That's what's neat about GitHub too. Is it's collaborative. It allows you to collaborate with other people. Because unless you find somebody else that's working in, is it Lazarus? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
So then it's tough because you're working on a project that nobody else is working on. So you put it up on GitHub and you hope to find people that are going about the same process
I don't think there are many
collaborate.
I don't think there are many people. Sorry, I don't think there are many people who did Linux, use Linux with Lazarus properly. I think what they did was they used a Windows version via Wine.
Would the beeping work on Windows and just not on Linux? Is that the idea?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but it uses the Windows library. That's the problem I got. Yeah, no.
You could try running Lazarus from the command line, go into a terminal and run the executable so that it launches on your desktop. But then if you look at the terminal window, it should show you any output of any errors or libraries that are missing.
Yeah,
that can help you. That can help you to track down what library is missing.
It's because the Windows one started on Windows .bat as a library to call from an API and got the API there. Mm-hmm. And the other thing I noticed as well,
Wine might have it if you look in Open Wine Tricks.
Wine only works with don't work with Windows, all Windows 10 programs, because I write up on Lazarus with Windows 10 and try to run it with Wine. It's back in Windows 7 or Windows 90. I think it's got Windows 7. You're telling me still Windows 7.
The emulation or whatever.
APIs, if they could. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it will run sometimes, but it's a bit things are wonky and don't quite work properly.
So Peter, I figured out. I understand what you're doing is running or programming in Pascal with Lazarus on Linux. That part I get. Yeah. But what I don't understand yet is what it is that the program you're writing. What is it you're trying to do with it? What is it? What's that program supposed to do?
It's a game. It's just a simple number game.
Okay, good. That's important. I think the important thing here is to have some project in mind, some problem you're trying to solve, because that will give you the motivation to work through any problems in order to make it work. So
I wrote it in Windows before, and it's rather a bit quite good, but I don't only get the professionality as I did in Windows at the moment, because I don't know enough to understand how all the libraries work. It's not a library problem, it's actually libraries that don't exist in one form, because I remember how I did it in Windows and basically on the Windows code, basically. He said in Lazarus, code on one machine and run the source code on one machine and compile on another. But that's only true if you use only the source, the libraries within that machine, like Ubuntu, or it doesn't quite work.
So the API won't be exactly the same. Obviously, you've found that out. I'm sure you're not going to find the Windows API on Linux. That's just not going to happen.
No, it's not over there.
So I've had the best success using a graphical UI library called GTK. What happens is if you write your code against the GTK API, then you compile it on Windows, it will translate directly to the Windows API. If you compile it on Linux, it will translate directly to the X Windows API. The library will do all that for you.
Yeah, what GTK did you say? I'm a bit deaf, so can you say that again? What was it?
G for golf, T for tango, K for kilo.
Is it graphic toolkit?
I think so. It's a GNOME.
Toolkit.
It's a GNOME toolkit. Yep.
Yeah, it is the GNOME toolkit.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I will go and have a look for that one and see if I can find where it is.
Now, I don't know if you're going to find Pascal bindings for it.
You're opening a can of worms here, BP9.
That's right. That's right. The issue is...
Just go on Google and type GTK.
For Pascal, right? For Pascal. Because you're going to find C, you're going to find C++, you're going to find C# bindings, you're going to find Java bindings.
PHP?
But I don't, maybe. Yeah, I'm sure you will.
I can't make PHP beep though.
Yeah, but you can with GTK. But I don't know if you're going to find Pascal bindings. You're on your own.
BP9, you are bang on when it comes to programming. Like it's like your project with the Pine Time, my project with NEMS Linux, for example.
Right.
Like it's a motivator when you have like an end game. You know that your Pine Time is going to arrive, and then you're going to be able to compile and test this thing out. And so, like, you've got a reason to be doing this, and an end result that you can say, "I've achieved this." With NEMS, the same thing. Like, I do all kinds of stuff with NEMS, and I feel like there's achievements along the way. So Peter, it's a good idea that you've got this game. Yeah, you've got this numbers game that you're programming, and you just keep chipping away and plug away at each issue as it arises. And if it doesn't, if the library doesn't work on Linux, then just work around it or make it so that maybe it's a visual representation instead of an audible one or whatever.
I'll probably end up doing, but I've been programming for a long, long time, probably about 30 years or so, on and off. So.
It took me 10 years to finally settle on GTK. I tried WXGTK, I tried FLTK, I tried WX Windows, I think it was, and I finally settled on GTK. There were things I was trying to do that I just could not do in the other toolkits, but I was able to do in GTK. So
GTK is pretty universal too. Like it's everywhere, so you're not going to have any trouble.
I'm on GTK. I'm on GTK 2 right now. GTK 3 is out. I've not translated my programs to GTK 3, and one day I'll do that. But honestly, the project I was working on when I built this thing is done. I don't have to modify it anymore. I can find ways to tweak it if I want to, but that part's done. Now I have a solid groundwork in order to tackle any other project like the Pine Time, right? So
I made one program in my life from the ground up in 96 or something. I had an old 286 computer. I did not know how big the hard drive was.
You mentioned this. Yeah,
I remember this.
Yeah. So I made a program that I got a copy of Turbo Pascal, and I remember the little brother of one of my friends had a program that I think he had found somewhere that showed how big the disk was and how much free space you had, because in DOS you. At least I didn't find a way to figure out how much free space you had. You could easily find how much you used and then calculate how much space you had left, but that involves you knowing how big the drive was. So I made a program, and because the Turbo Pascal 5 had a very genius help system with all variables that you could use, and then some examples of how you used it. So I combined a few things, and then I made the thing output in green text in 2 lines, and the numbers in pink blinking. Just because I could.
See, in Solbu, that comes right back to you had a reason to make something. And then you created it, and you're filling a need. And I think that's where open source really works too, is because these needs come up, and people code for the open source community or for themselves, for their own needs. and then release it to the open source community.
And back then,
like my stuff is all on GitHub, so if you like what I do, you can go download it. I had not heard
the idea of the free software,
yeah.
But I knew what freeware was, so I made it output that it was freeware. So the idea was that anyone who got a copy could do what they wanted with it. And after I learned what about the GNU project and the GPL, then I relicensed it in 2008 into GPL, and now it resides on GitHub. So,
yeah, cool.
So you remember that LDAP program I was not LDAP, the CardDAP program that I was talking about, that I was for the Pine for the Pine phone, where I was going to build a server that the phone application could call against if it wanted to, in order to get contact details. Well, I finally looked finally got back onto Discord and caught up on all the old messages, and Bo had dropped a response that he had gotten from the from IRC or from the chat room for the Pine for the Pine phone. I have to keep making sure I get the right product. For the Pine phone.
I don't know, Pinebook Pro. I don't.
Yeah, one of them.
I get Rock Pro and Rock Pro 64 and Rock 64 and A64 and all these things mixed up.
I got all Pine.
Bo had,
what did Bo give you?
Bo had pointed me to, or his contact had pointed me to Evolution Data Service. I had completely forgotten about Evolution. Evolution is a Microsoft Outlook workalike. It handles email.
But is it
handles
not dead?
Contacts. It handles calendar. Not to my knowledge.
Wow.
I didn't think it was. Evolution itself, I think, is still okay. I haven't really looked at it, but that's going to be my next step. Before I build this thing, I'm going to go ahead and search that out and have a look.
Yeah, I'd love to know what you find about Evolution, because I was under the impression that Evolution was a dead project, but it was a beautiful project.
Yeah,
but it started having trouble a couple years ago with Exchange and like MAPI support. So
what was it replaced with then? If not
nothing,
if it's dead?
That's the problem. So when you say Evolution, I peeked up and I'm like, is there something? Are they still doing dev? No, like Zimbra made a desktop edition that would allow MAPI access, which was probably the best drop-in. But other than that, I haven't seen anything that's really compatible with MAPI.
Well, I haven't researched it yet, but that's one of the things I need to do next, just to see what else is out there.
It's an interesting evolution when it comes to that kind of tech, because now everything's going in the cloud.
No
so
pun
you're using
intended,
a browser.
Right?
Yeah, but you're using the cloud-based stuff now in a lot of senses. But if Evolution has some libraries and connectors that you're able to tap into for CalDAV,
we'll have to see. We'll have to see what it can do for me, if anything at all. I don't know.
Yeah. Let us know what you find. We got to wrap up, guys. I've got to get back to work, so it's been fun having another coffee break today. I'm not really sure how the coffee break is going to jive with my regular schedule once the show is back on air. That's something that maybe we can discuss over the next little while. I'm not sure if maybe I need to make it like a once a week thing. What I'm going to run into, just so you're aware, because I love doing this with you guys and for you guys. What I will run into, I'm glad you do. What I will run into is I'm a pro user on Vimeo, and that's where I upload the videos to. Now, keep in mind, usually I do a single show every Wednesday, and that fills up our account because you get a weekly quota of 20 gigs. This, I did the math, and this is about 8 or 9 gigs per week usage. So that would push me to the point where if I'm doing the show and the coffee break daily, I'll only have 11 gigs. Yeah, I'm going to surpass my limit. I won't be able to upload the show. So I might have to do this like once or twice a week. Or we'll see. We'll see what works. But I want to keep it going. This was really the intention behind Coffee Break, was to have a way for us all to keep connected throughout the course of the pandemic, and we don't know when that's going to be over. So at the very least, until we can all leave our houses again, I think it would be good to keep this going as best as we can. So and I love having this time together.
Did
this is
everything
way
go well
better
yesterday,
than
Robbie?
text-based chat. So.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Sorry, what's that? BP9.
Did everything go well yesterday at the studio?
Yeah, it was an intense day for me. It was tough because I'm the only one allowed to go and set things up.
Yeah.
And there hasn't been any construction, so I drilled a 2-inch hole through the drywall to run cables. The cables aren't quite long enough, so I have to have everything kind of set in that one corner so that they can reach the server in the other room. And I don't have enough power because the PDU hasn't arrived. It has now. I'm going to go pick it up today. But just quickly, Jenn did her service from the studio yesterday morning, which went very, very well. And she was, just take that burden off of her was really, really great to be able to do.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff did the same thing a couple of weeks ago, right?
He did,
so,
yeah. Well, his wasn't live. So Jenn's was different because it was live. So that was the first live broadcast.
Pre-recording. Okay.
No, it was live. So so that was really cool. And they had really good engagement, like over 1,000 people. So that was really good. And then I did 2 interviews. So three different people. So Sasha was one of those. And the rest, you're just going to have to wait till Wednesday.
Yay! That's okay. That's all right. Not a problem.
Yeah. So it's going well. And then tomorrow I've got more interviews booked. So yeah, I will be ready for Wednesday.
Good deal. Good deal.
Well, it's been nice, guys. Looking forward already to chatting with you again tomorrow at our coffee break. Have a good afternoon.
Okay. You too.
Goodbye, Robbie.